So this story, basically, it's about one of the things that I always try to advise my clients not to do when they're doing, they come in to talk about estate planning, whether it's through a trust or will, anything where someone's going to be inheriting real property. And that recommendation is to not leave real property to more than one person. Basically, don't have co-ownership of real property unless it's a husband and a wife, at least as far as inheritance goes. And the reason for that is because when you have co-owners of real property, there are so many issues that can come up. I mean, think about, how are they going to decide who lives there? How they're going to decide who pays the taxes, maintains the property. They each have a, if it's two, they each have a 50% ownership interest in that property. One of them might want to sell it, the other one doesn't. So then they're kind of just stuck. And ultimately, if they can't get along or they can't agree on what to do with the property or how it's going to be used, the only recourse they have is to file a lawsuit to have the property partitioned by a court order. And that could be by dividing it if it's large enough, if it's acres, as long as that division is equitable, or else it's going to be ordered to be sold and the proceeds will be divided. I have a very sad case where I had to file a partition lawsuit. I represented two sisters, and it was against their brother who was living in the property, and they were all older, and the brother had been living there for years. Family litigation is nasty, and this one was not an exception. We ended up having to have a receiver, which is a third-party attorney appointed by the court, who's granted to basically take full control over this property and do whatever he needs to do to get it sold, including evicting the brother if he wouldn't cooperate. And that's ultimately what had to be done because the brother would not cooperate. I mean, he actually would threaten the sisters. And so the receiver, the third-party attorney, the first thing he did was, we needed to figure out how we could get this property listed. So he had to do the eviction. I assisted him with it. And that eviction day finally came around, and we had to go with the constables and be there to move the property out when they forcibly removed this elderly man who was, I want to say he was around 80 years old. But it was a really sad day, and we had to move all of his property out to the side of the curb. And, what happens if it rains? That property could get wet. This is everything. Furniture, every piece of clothing, everything that he has in that house has got to be moved out. And so that while we were moving that property out, the constables had him detained in the back of their car, obviously because he was trying to assault them. And but then, to my surprise, once we were done, they just let him out, and they gave him the keys to his truck, which he had in his driveway, and told him, "Here are your keys. We put all your guns in your truck. Here you go." And they let him have all of his guns back. Well, from the stories I heard from the neighbors and the pictures that one of the neighbors sent me that night, it's really tragic, but he basically drank a bottle of Jack Daniels, sat in the backyard in a gazebo they had there, and had a shotgun, and he fired off one shot. The neighbors heard it, and they were like, "That's a gunshot." So some of the neighbors, the men, went to go see what was going on because they obviously knew what had happened earlier in the day. And so they went to go see, and they said that when they came out there, they saw him holding that shotgun like he was, going to commit some harm to himself. And one of the neighbors was ex-military, and he went and pushed the gun out of this guy's hand. But it wasn't quite enough. And so the picture that I ended up receiving from the neighbor was a picture of the elder brother sitting lumped over on a bench in the backyard. And so I hope that story can help leave some impression on anybody that having co-ownership of property, especially when you're trying to, plan for your children, just don't leave property to multiple people, because it could create more problems than you think it's solving.